Welcome to Photo Mentor Minutes. In this series, I'll share decades of real-world experience to help you learn to see like an artist. Let me ask you a question. It might sound obvious, but you'll discover it has more meaning. Actually, it's two questions. The first one is, what is it that interests you about photography? And the second one is related, and that is, why do you even want to become a photographer? I believe it's important we answer this question, and it might be more revealing than you think about the kind of work that you want to do, the subjects you tend to photograph, and whether you'll be successful in however you measure success, of course. In my experience, there are three kinds of photographers. The most common I call the pixel peeper. The pixel peeper has very technical ability. They're typically into computers. A lot of them work in IT or in IT-related businesses. They know all the specs of all the cameras they own. They can tell you what to buy and why. They'll be the first to tell you that real photographers only shoot on manual mode. They really dominate almost. They're in every Facebook group and forum and group forum I've ever run into. It seems like I call them. Actually, I say they're trying to try out for sales positions with Canon, Nikon, or Sony. Anyway, they'll also be the first to tell you that all you got to do is go to YouTube. That's the way they learned, and everything you want to learn is right there. They're very left brain oriented, very logical, and they love things they can measure. The second kind of photographer is a little less common. Again, I refer to this person as the artist. Technology for them tends to get in the way of the creative process, actually. They have this unique ability to see beyond the obvious. It just amazes me. When I'm around these people, the stuff they see are even things I don't even see. I like to joke and say they don't know an f-stop from a bus stop. That's not always the case, but the point is, for them, the camera is just a tool. It could be an iPhone or DSLR. It really doesn't matter because it's not about the camera. On the other hand, they're very right brain oriented. They're very much in the moment. They're in touch with their emotions, with the client, the person that's in front of the camera. Very, very different than the left brain technical person. The problem is, though, they're often frustrated, overwhelmed, and discouraged because when they ask for advice and things like that, all they get is the technical response, not the creative aspect. When mentoring hundreds of discouraged photographers who are ready to quit and sell their gear, I've discovered it wasn't the students. It really was the old school methods they were being taught to follow. The best part was I developed this system called STEPS, S-T-E-P-S methodology, and I discovered it resulted in really more photographers becoming more creative and enjoying photography much faster than any other system that I tried. And I think the problem is that most people are teaching still the way I learned back in the 60s and 70s, where everything was on manual, and that's the way you have to learn. Exposure triangle, these cryptic graphics that they post in these groups really don't mean anything to anybody, to be honest with you. Anyway, if you want to learn more about this information on the STEPS program, I encourage you to go to photomentoracademy.com/steps. There'll be a link in the comments here below. The third type of photographer is the recovering pixel peeper. They're the emerging artists. They were attracted maybe initially by the technology, but realized it was about the art. They're kind of closet artists in a way. They're not appealing. They don't find the artsy fartsy new age aspect of photography or art appealing, but they do love being creative. The mechanics tends to come very easily for them on the technical side. But what they've discovered is when they buy all this gear and they look at their work, they're like, I haven't gotten any better. And that's where I think they start moving more over toward the artistic side of the photography side of the business. They're very left brain, right brain. They can kind of mix science and emotion together, which is a good example of where really photography is all about a mixture of science and art. Anyway, I hope you can start to see why I'm asking this question. Why do we want to become a photographer? Because it can really be revealing as to not only why you're not improving as fast as you'd expect, but it can also help you understand the types of photography that you want to do. In the next episode of Photo Mentor Minutes, I'm going to go into much more detail on the reasons why you may not be improving. I'll share some of the myths and misconceptions that are told to new photographers that I believe are doing more harm and damage to your growth, and why that is. So anyway, thanks again for your support, for your questions, and for watching. I read every comment, so if you have any questions you want to ask, please leave them below. And as always, if you want to be more successful, quit trying to learn photography and learn the language of visual storytelling. Go to photomentoracademy.com/steps.